So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to give you a taste, because it's only a taste we can have of what the ancient Greek mysteries were like. Because the name mystery in itself means that it's secret. So the word mystery implies that it is secret, it's something hidden. And the people who were taking part in these mysteries were the initiates. In ancient Greek, the name is mystis, where mysteries come from. So these initiated people would not talk about what actually these mysteries entail to. Some of them wrote some accounts, but not actually exactly what happened. So what I'm going to give you is very much a taste of what we think happened in those times, and what Hieros Gamos, sacred union, sacred marriage, meant for those people. I'm going to take you in a very, very sacred place. Homer, that you may know from Iliad and Odyssey, he was a very famous poet. Most people know it from the Hollywood films, unfortunately, but the Hollywood films have their place in creating an interest for ancient Greece. And Homer said, Samothraki, where we're going to travel, was the holiest of holies. It was the place of initiation for the ancient Greeks, but not just the ancient Greeks alone, because everyone was welcomed there. And that is so rare in a society where the ancient Greeks said, whoever is not Greek is a barbarian. I have to say, they were a bit what we would call racist today. But in that place, that sacred place of initiation, everyone was welcomed, whether they were a free citizen or a slave, because their societies were based on slavery, unfortunately, as well. So a slave could go there, a woman could go there and be initiated and be part of the mysteries, exactly at the same level, in equal terms with everyone else. And the main criteria was how good was your heart, whether you were a moral person, whether you lived in accordance with divine justice. So that was the main criteria, and that is why that place is so important for the Greek tradition. There are other mysteries in Greece, like most people know the Eleusinian mysteries that take place near Athens, what we call, Athens today. And in those mysteries, it was only Greek citizens, and mostly men, I have to say. Well, some women could take part, but we don't know to which degree, but no slaves, no foreigners could take place in the Eleusinian mysteries. But this place was open to everyone, no matter of ethnicity or gender. And why is this place so special? So this is an artist's impression of the energy. People, spiritual artists are looking at this, and they think it's a very strong PowerPoint. I have felt it there too, and maybe. But this is somebody's impression where they said there is a very big PowerPoint. There is a PowerPoint there, and for thousands of years, the mysteries were enacted there. But who started these mysteries? And this we don't know. They say that there is a connection with ancient Egypt. Some of the ancient writers think that potentially there was a connection with Egypt, and the Egyptian sages taught the people before the Greeks even went there to, it was really in prehistory about the mysteries. Other people say it was the indigenous people. Now, when it comes to Greece, we have a lot of different tribes coming together. The Greeks themselves are divided into three groups: the Dorics, the Ionians, that you will know maybe from architecture. We talk about the Ionian style, and there is another group called Aeolis. And they mix together and they become the Greeks. But before them, there is another type of people who live mainly in the islands. And this is a statue of the Great Mother. You can see here. It's a copy, I have to say. I haven't nicked it. So this is a statue of the Great Mother. And we call this idolia. It's like very, very simple. Almost you could say it's modern art, because there is nothing decorated, you know, on top of this. There's no symbols, no design, but you have the symbol of the feminine down here, just engraved, and the breasts. And just very, very simple, just showing this is a female figure that is the Great Mother. And you have similar ones for the Great Father. And animals and so on. They are very, very simple in their approach, but they're also very sophisticated in their spiritual thinking. So these people start the mysteries, some people say. Whether they got them from the Egyptians or further eastern, there are some suggestions that maybe they got them from further in Asia and you know, India and so on. There are a lot of suggestions, because really we do not know. But these people start the mysteries in there, in Samothraki, in this sacred place. And where is that island? Let's see. So the island of Samothraki, or Samothraka, or Samothrace in English, there's many names. It's actually very much at the edge of the Greek world, or modern Greece anyway, because the Greek world at the time also included Asia Minor. But it's right there, up there at the top. So in that island, there in that corner, everybody goes to be initiated. And as you can see, there's a lot of mountainous areas, and the mountains are very important for ceremonies, because people go to these mountains to do ceremony. You can see there aren't that many beaches around, and actually for Greece, everybody's looking for the sun and the beaches, a nice white sun. Well, you'll be disappointed in Samothraki. You can see a beach here. Not very nice, you know, but this is one of the places. And then the most beautiful beach on the island is quite a small one. Here it is. And when I was young, my parents loved ancient Greece, and my grandfather was a professor of ancient Greece. So he used to take us and go to all these ancient places in our summer holidays. So this is a beach that most people go, because that's the only one really that, you know, you can, you know, swim nicely, etc. It's quite a small beach, and it's quite rough in terms of stones. And I remember actually laying there under the sun when I was about 12. But this is the beauty of it. In the interior, Samothraki opens us into a different world. You have these places here, these rocks and pools of water. Now the water there is much colder, but if it's really hot outside, you want to dip in there. And these places, these places have very high energy. So the water comes from the mountains, and you bathe in there. You're really bathing in a pool of energy. And a lot of spiritual people don't want to go to the other beaches. They want to stay in these rocks here. Find a place to camp in here. I'll show you some pictures, and you can see the natural beauty of the places, waterfalls. As you can see, the water coming up from the mountains. And this is another pool. This is a beautiful picture where people dive and bathe and enjoy the energy of the place. Nature is very important here. And in the ancient Greek way, people commune with nature. You know, you have all the tradition about the nymphs, and everything is alive. You know, you could be looking at a rock, and the rock could be a spirit in there that we would call, you know, maybe a local elemental deity has transformed itself into a rock, or a tree, a nymph could be there. So nature is very important. And the mountains, as I said, are very important too. This is the mountain, they call it the Mountain of the Moon. This is still the name, the Mountain of the Moon, where people go up there and do ceremonies in ancient times. But apart from nature, we have also the sacred places. I will start with what is there. Now, all you see there is what is remaining, because Greece is is a place where you have a lot of earthquakes. So unfortunately, there's not much standing, and what has been put together is not really very much. So you have to use your imagination a lot to connect with that place. But this is one of the temples that you see here. And pretty much this is it in terms of what is standing. All the other rocks, an archaeologist would know what they mean, but if you just walk around yourself, you might think, oh, they're just all these marble columns standing there, half broken. And then is the closest photograph of the temple. So what happens there? Why people go there to be initiated? What is this initiation about? And what is the purpose of traveling there? So the mysteries are a way of life. So once you become a mystic, you adopt a way of life. You're encouraged to adopt a different way of life, a more spiritual way of life. And your initiation marks this. So people go there, and before they can be initiated, they have to be purified. So there is a purification happening. We call it in Greek exagnismos, meaning there is a physical and spiritual purification. So the physical purification, we know it has to do with being out in nature, being one of these rock formations that I showed you, being in these caves, and being in the womb of the mother, in the cave, where you have to reflect on your life. What is your life about? And there are the priests there who will help you with that. Because, we all know, if you're spiritual people, when you do spiritual work, a lot of things can come up. A lot of our issues can come up. Sometimes, we look at ourselves, through a mirror, and we see all that we have carried and lived, the hurts and disappointments, reflected back to us through spiritual and personal work. So there are priests there that are specializing in helping those who want to take part in the mysteries. And they are called, the priest is called Kois in there. This name is particular to Samothraki, and is also what we would call a confessor. So they are practicing this well before Christianity, and actually St. Paul spent the night in Samothraki at some point before he went to create Rome. So sometimes I wonder, did he nick that from them? Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll never know. But they are practicing this confession, and what the confession is a bit like what happens here. They go to inside the temple with a priest and in front of the altar, and they have to say to the gods what is that they are carrying, what is heavy that they are carrying, all, not so much calling it sins, but the things that we're not happy about, that we have done, and we would like to bring closure to. And the priests were there to help each person. And of course it was done in private. But sometimes some people, there is some anecdotes here that one of the Spartans who went there, he said to the confessor, now is it you who wants to know what is my biggest problem, or the gods? And the confessor Koi says, well, it's actually the gods who want to know, well, to help you, not me. So he says, so in that case, please go away and I'll just speak to the gods directly. But I don't know how well that went for him, but it's something that's been written about him. So eventually what happens is after you have all this talk with the confessor, after after you have your time of self-reflection in a cave, meditation, you have physical purification with steam, that they know they use the heat to purify the body as well from the toxins. You spend time in nature and all that. Eventually they decide that you can become an initiate of the mysteries. So there you come to the second part of the mysteries. So the first we said was the purification. The second part is the initiation. So the initiation has to do with fire, the element of fire. So the element of fire symbolizes our inner fire. And each initiate comes carrying a wee oil lamp, that there are places in the walls that he would put that lamp, and it's just a commitment that I'm going to discover my own inner light. This is who I am, beyond the body, I'm this light. So these initiates at this time, in ancient times, they were looking to find out who they were inside, their inner light, symbolized by this oil lamp, and they would leave that aside. And then one by one, they will all gather inside the circle, and there was a throne that was placed there. The throne was exactly on the power point where the energy was at its highest. So they would sit there, and then the accounts that we have is that there was a sound used as for healing, for increasing the vibration. So we know that especially the women priests played drums, played flutes. There were other instruments that were played, and there was the voice that was used, and they were using sacred words that the Greeks who took part there said, we don't know what this means. It's a very ancient language. Some people said, it's like gibberish, we can't understand what the priests are saying. But when I link with this place, I think these are sacred mantras that they are chanting. They are chanting in light language, in a very, very ancient language that invokes this quality of light. And of course it's not in Greek. And that's why some initiates can't understand. They say, we can't understand what the priests are chanting. And of course they weren't meant to understand, because everything was kept secret, because it was so sacred. So after they sit on the throne, they also they're given a little wreath made of an olive tree, an olive tree wreath. And that symbolizes peace within. The olive tree is a symbol of peace. And so they are crowned with this olive tree, and they're given also a red ribbon to tie around their clothes. And at the same time, the women are dancing, the priestesses are dancing around them, chanting and dancing. So they go into a higher state through sound. Incense, of course, is there. It's a very, very sacred time. So you have this initiation. And this is the first initiation. This is the first initiation that takes place because people who lived a moral life, a good life, they lived from the heart and wanted to go further, could take a second initiation. But what the second initiation means is that you become then the servant of the first initiates. So it's not like you got up a higher degree. It's not to feed your ego. It's something that will, be something like you are a supervisor now of the other initiates, a helper, a servant of the other initiates. You're to support the others, not to become, a master or something else. So this happens at this time. After you had your initiation in the PowerPoint, at some point when people felt that it was your time or you were worthy to do this, you proved yourself through your work, you could be taken into the Holy of Holies. What happens in the Holy of Holies? We have accounts that what happens there is that you have an experience through the power of prayer, maybe meditation, of communion with God. So communion with the divine happens inside the Holy of Holies. So you have these three stages that are the purification, the initiation, and communion with the Holy of Holies. And inside the Holy of Holies, it's you and the divine. There is nobody else. It's your own experience. It's you experiencing the immensity of your being and the divine being, coming to a state of what maybe we call grace in our own language. And these mysteries take place, continue to take place, we think for thousands of years. When the Romans come, they're very interested in the mysteries, but they want to change things. So they bring things along. There's like animal sacrifices and purification through blood, and that's really alien to to the ancient Greeks and how things were done before. So they're bringing traditions from the East, from the tradition of Mithras, that have to do with the sacrifice of bull and using the blood of the bull to purify. That was not what was there before. You know, before you purified through the confession, through the meditation in the caves, rather than through an animal sacrifice. So at the time of the Romans, things changed a bit than what was before. Okay, and what was the main deity that people were interested in? Well, one was the fire. The fire was very important, as I said, because it symbolized your own fire. The fire was also a transformation, that you went through transformation. I found this on the internet because there are these two deities that they identify with the fire. So, and there are two statues that we know of that were there. So as people went there, they saw two statues that have been lost now. They've been destroyed over time. And the first statue is of the first man, the primordial man, the first man that comes, the man that is very basic. Before he has been purified or become spiritually aware. They call this man Adamos, which is really interesting, because Adamos is in English becomes Adamos. Now, if you think that OS at the end is a Greek ending, and you take that away, you have Adam, and in Greek, Adam is Adam. So there may be something there from, a link there to a biblical sign, but they call this first man Adamos. And they say that this first man is basically in his basic instinct, and when he arrives there, this is who he is. And then through the power of transformation, through the mysteries, he becomes Kadmos. Kadmos is the all-knowing man, the wise man, the man that has developed his own wisdom, his own gifts. So the deity of Kadmos in Greece, apart from what I'm describing, he was supposed to have been something like Thoth in Egypt. He invents writing, he finds the alphabet, and he does all these things. So he builds, he's the first architect. So he's somebody like Thoth. So, but some people call him Hermes as well, but Hermes is a bit different because he's later on. Kadmos is an earlier form maybe of Hermes. So this Kadmos is actually the one who has developed his gifts that are inside him. And this is what they're trying to do through the ritual and the fire, is that you are finding your own fire, your own passion, you're transforming into the wise person that you are inside, because we all have these gifts that are inherent in us, but through being in our basic nature, we forget about them. Okay. There's a lot of art developed at that time, of which we don't really know what it means. So this is something else that is found there. And what you've got here, which is really important at the time, is the rose in the middle. It's a symbol of femininity, because this is very much a remnant of the matriarchy. So the reason we call it the Kavirian Mysteries, there are two reasons. One is the name of the goddess, that is similar to Cybele or Kiveli, as we call it, or Ishtar, or Iset, or Isis. So the primordial cosmic mother, the name that is given there is Kaviro. So we have the Kavirian Mysteries after the goddess Kaviro. So the rose is very important. And at the same time, we have the deities of the fire, which are male, and they are protectors, and they protect the initiates, and they are called Kaviri. And there is a big debate of who these are, because again, as I said, there is so little written about the mysteries. So some people think it could be Prometheus, because it's related to the fire, and Prometheus is the one who stole the fire from the gods to give it to the human beings, so we could get warm and have cooked food, and that's one of the myths. So, but they think these deities, being protectors, they're also quite, strong, and if you cross them, bad things may happen to you. So they're supposed to protect the initiates. So the rose is well looked after. The feminine is looked after by the protectors, the male, and the two come together. And where in all this is the sacred union? What is the sacred union? It's a sacred union with our higher self. The higher self is seen as the wise part of us, the Cosmos that I was talking before. And is the marriage between ourselves and our wise spirit. And that comes in this place in Samothraki through the great cosmic mother, but in other places it comes through the great cosmic father. So you have to bring both in some ways, both feminine and masculine. But it has nothing to do with what Hollywood is showing people having sex on the altar, because to the ancient Greeks that would have been absolutely awful, preposterous, that something like that could be happening in their Holy of Holies. This was the place of divine union, not our own, not the bodily union, not the physical union, which sometimes I can understand for some people that they practice these ways can take them to ecstatic states. But in the journey there is an individual journey. It's more finding your own self rather than meeting somebody else. It's very much a journey of where you meet your higher spirit and you bring that in your body to become whole, to become this wise person, this wise self, this wise man, the wise woman, because it's both for men and women. The women there also have a very supportive and nurturing role, but also they are the ones who are creative, who are the sound healers, who are bringing the energy through the dance. They are exploring their feminine side, whilst the men as well bring the power and hold the circle. So if you think of the old initiates that are in the middle, you have the women coming and dancing and singing, and the men that are already initiated, the ones who are the supervisors, are holding the space, are protectors, they're protecting the space. It's a bit what I showed you before, the rose in amongst the two protectors. So both have to work together to bring in the light, for the person who is being initiated. So their journey there was taking, it started with 9 days the first time somebody went to the mysteries, but a lot of people went again and again and again. And through that marriage, they were given a ring as well. So the ring they used to wear was a ring made of a magnetic stone. I think you call it magnetite in English. And so it kind of has this attraction, magnet attracts things. So it was also to do with, you attract what is good for you. But it's a ring, it's a marriage ring that you have married now, your own self. It's something that I think is very profound. I have been doing a lot of work with the Isis mysteries in my own work, and I have been conducting similar ceremonies for the marriage of the higher self. But every time, you know, you have to go through a process. It's not something I can do online, as people do nowadays, or through a 2-hour workshop. But because it's a very, very profound experience that can change us deeply inside. And I think in honoring their journey, the ancient people's journey, we have to acknowledge that they did it in a good way, through going through purification, initiation, and communion with the divine. Okay.
Do you think it might have been matriarchal then?
Sorry?
Do you think it might have been matriarchal then?
Well, we know for sure that there's a strong female presence there, and that there are female priests and priestesses. And actually, Alexander the Great's father, Philip, meets his wife, who became, you know, Alexander's mother, Olympias, in there. So she was a high priestess in there in the temple. So there is a strong female side then. So I would say yes, that it was dedicated to the Great Mother, and continued to do so. In some ways, the only time this changed was when the Romans came, because you have to think that for the Greek people, or the people who go there, you know, their tradition is very important. Religion is very important. You know, things do not change over time. It's they want to keep these ways because they are secret and sacred. So somebody who becomes an initiate has to be verified, has to do a lot of inner work. You know, if you bring the patriarchy in, then the whole thing, you know, in some ways collapses, and then we will have changes. But no changes happen. Still, we have the time where the slaves can go in. The slave could be a supervisor of free citizens, and that would be unheard of for the rest of Greece. You know, so things still remain there in the same way, keep going in the same way. And what they are trying to do there, apart from, you know, the inner transformation, the accounts we have there, is they realize, it's a self-realization of the immortality of the soul. So they talk a lot about that, you know, detaching from the everyday world. This is not just life. Life continues. We are, you know, growing and being, you know, in this earth school, and we continue to grow and continue to live after we die. And reincarnation is something that is, some people touch here, that it could be some part of that dogma. But dogma is not again the right word, because the idea was that you realize these truths yourself. So it's very interesting what they do here. And actually, there's an account of a couple, man and wife, that take part in the mysteries, and their son dies. And the mother, of course, is very distressed. And the father says, "You have been an initiate of the mysteries. How can you be distressed for our son, that he has died? Okay, he's not here, but you know that his soul continues its journey, and we should let him go." So there is this realization in there. So
are we still through initiations now?
Now, so no, the ancient Greek mysteries are no more.
No.
You know, we've lost. The energy is still there. If people go to
connect them to
yeah, of course we can connect. Yes, and you know, my belief is that yes, we may have left the cosmic mother, but she can never leave us, because we are the children. No matter what we do, she's always there for us, and she's part of us, because we're all male and female in some way. So so the initiations, okay, this place is no more, but we're finding it in different ways. That's, you know, yeah, we are. Of course, we are. This ancient place, the power is there, has left us a legacy, and we can continue it through our own spiritual development, even though we do it differently. This is maybe to inspire us to connect to the energy. I say to people who wish to connect with the energy of Samothraki, to go and connect with the energy at the golden times, because the energy has been corrupted when the Romans came, and it's not so clean. But
the first man called Adamos, what was the first woman called?
So the in there, for some reason, I don't know why, as you went there to Samothraki, you had in the ancient times these two statues of the two men. We were the one who was the basic nature, Adamos, and the other one who is the wise man who is transformed into Cosmos. When it came to the women, you only had the Great Mother. Maybe there's you didn't have. You only had the one. You didn't have the same for the women, for whatever reason. You didn't have the same. I don't think that was because there was something better or worse, but it was very much different roles for the women and men in there. So the women embodied the energy of the Great Mother, and they brought in the gifts through the sound, through the nurturing, through the sacred dance, and that was giving the men that were taking part the opportunity for the transformation. So the two were coming together, but the women also would have been initiated and sat on the throne, what they call the throne, the PowerPoint, with the ring and everything else. But they had a different role to the men, but not inferior. I have to say, not inferior. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there might be connections with this, with other, ancient texts and spiritual traditions. I think, that's definitely the people who study the mysteries, although, as I said, it's so little written, they think there could be a variety of sources that influence them, whether it's the Kabbalah or the ancient Egyptians, wherever they came from. There is a suggestion, some people say, that there could be, because of the use of the language, that people don't understand what language this is. And it's not just the Greeks there. You have to think that this is international or multinational. So people from everywhere in the known world are coming to this little island, and nobody can understand what the priests are saying. It's pointing to some people to say that this could be the Atlantean light language or the mantric language that people used. But so it has come down. Yeah. Because Miska, when she asked me to do these workshops, she said, could you do something more practical as well, to help us connect with that place, as well as giving us the historical account. So I will share with you some of my work, my shamanic work. And some people may know that I'm a shamanic practitioner and a shamanic teacher. I have actually been... My journey with shamanism started first with Western shamanism through Sandra Ingerman in the States, and I have trained with Native American spirituality. I've been to Peru and Nepal and all other places. And then after all that, I went back to Greece, where my family still is. And my dad was trained by his grandfather to be what we call a shaman, a medicine person, and asked for the medicine from him. And after a lot of persuasion, I eventually got the wisdom from my own roots as well. My family carries two shamanic lineages. Is the one from my father and his grandfather is mainly from ancient Greece and Egypt, and the one from my great aunts is a female side. And the two sides don't normally talk together. So you have the women doing their thing and the men doing their thing, and they usually don't talk together. So that's why I had to persuade my dad after a lot of asking to give this to me, because I have no brother. So I said, it's either me, Dad, or it's going to be lost. And I'm doing the work anyway. So eventually he said yes. So what I would like to invite you to do is to follow me in a shamanic journey where we go to the place of the old initiates to take part in our own initiation, which has to do really with finding our own inner light. Okay, so I'm going to take my drum and lead you into a journey where we go to this power point with the intention to connect with our higher self, maybe like the old initiates, to leave behind what we no longer need, to transform ourselves through the power point, through our spiritual connection. So I would like to invite you to close your eyes and follow the drum and my voice as I'm taking you on this journey. The Kavirian Mysteries. And for this journey, we will invoke the power of the Great Mother, of the mysteries, Kaviro. We welcome you into this journey. May through your nurturing, through your love, walk the path of the old initiate. The protectors, the divine masculine represented by the gods of fire, the gods of fire that sow our own inner fire. The protectors of the mysteries, let us imagine now that we arrive on this sacred island. Perfume of the pine trees, comes towards you. They are so happy that you have come here to this place and welcomes you. This servant of the temple is taking you into one of the rocks, a small cave, a small opening carved on the rocks, just to sit there for a while. The caves represent Mother Earth, the womb of the mother, who is ready to give birth to you again, to help you reborn. So imagine sitting in this cave and asking Kaviro, the great cosmic mother, what is my initiation about? Why have I chosen to come here? Maybe you will receive an answer, and maybe you just feel the energy. Or maybe you wish to surrender to this process, which we cannot always understand with our mind. Develop your gifts, the gifts that lie inside you, and to bring your wise self into being, to unite with your own spirit, to marry yourself. Commit to yourself and your own life purpose. this place, feel the silence. A place where you can be yourself, surrounded by the earth. And then, very slowly, the servants of the temple come to fetch you and take you to the place of initiation. They take you further into the island. And as you come further and further into the Holy of Holies, into the sacred ground, the energy changes. At the end, you arrive at this cyclical theater, open to the elements. You go inside. And then the light starts to fade. The sun sets, and the moon, the full moon, rises in the sky. The servants of the temple hand you an oil lamp, and they ask you to meditate on the element of fire. Looking at the flame, they say, see yourself as being that flame. See yourself as being this light. And then realize that you are not alone. There are many lights, so many lights around you, for everyone holds this oil lamp. So many lights, like the stars in the night sky. And when you see your own light, and you make a commitment to manifest your light in the world, to open your heart to the goodness that you are inside, to bring the wise part of you into being, to embody your wise self. They invite you to sit on the throne that is right on top of the PowerPoint. And as you sit on the throne, on the PowerPoint, the priestesses chant and play the drums and play the music, the lira. it in Greek agaliasi, when our soul is touched by the divine within and the divine without. And in this place, people sought this union. And some people found it, and some people didn't. And like the old initiates, we may search and find the Holy of Holies, the communion with the divine and our own divine self. This is the path of the spiritual seeker, which we continue to walk until we become the enlightened self that we already are. So now our journey comes to an end, and we slowly give thanks to the great cosmic mother in whatever form or name you have for her. Maybe you wish to use the ancient name of Kavirian, or you have another. We give thanks to the Divine Mother for this journey. We give thanks to the two protectors, the fire spirits. And we slowly leave this ancient place behind. We can always go back in our own time. Connect to the golden time of the great mysteries of Samothraki. And slowly, very slowly, we bring ourselves back, welcoming ourselves home. Welcome back. So slowly, you can come back. Thank you. Can come back. Thank you. It's great to see everybody's back and nobody's left in ancient times. Lovely. So this is just a taste. Of course, we cannot in a 40 minutes, well, how long it was, half an hour journey, go back to the 9 days that the ancient ones experienced their initiation, but we can feel the energy, we can still feel the energy, and we can still feel maybe something that can shift within us. So it's time we can go deeper into our experience, because we meet life differently now and we have our own initiations. Sometimes life can be the initiator. Maybe it's even more difficult than having a 9-day mystery. Maybe life can be more challenging and a bigger initiator if we are aware of what is happening and why things happen in a certain way. And sometimes our initiation can last for years and years. So this is the beauty of our life and our spiritual path. And as we are no longer in the ancient times, we have our own way of finding spiritual truth. So thank you very much for this talk. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.